What's up guys? After many changes, I have reason to believe that I've got the absolutely perfect fitment on my S15, or about to have it. Fitment is of course subjective, but the fitment I'm going for is a streetable, stretched, slammed, not a race car, it's just a street car. So yeah, after lots of sets of wheels and way too many different size tyres, I believe I've got it nailed perfectly. I'm no gatekeeper, so I'll tell you exactly what I got: wheels, tyres, suspension parts. Most of it will be relevant for other S chassis, but you have to remember that the S13 and 14, I believe both had different size guards. They can kind of fit bigger wheels than the S15, so you might need to have lower offset wheels or wider wheels if you want to achieve the same fitment that I've got. So I just got some new tyres in the front, which I'll explain why in a second. But so because of that, I'm going to be adjusting the suspension all round actually, and I'll just explain all the parts as I go. First things first, before you even think about getting wheels, you're going to need to get yourself some coilovers. Here I've got myself some 326 power coilovers. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love these, but you don't need to spend this amount of money. Just some BCs or anything with camber tops really should be fine. You don't want to get yourself some old school Japanese like Teens or something performance based if you want my fitment, because they simply won't let you go low enough. You can see this has a relatively short spring compared to like a performance-based coilover, which allows you to get this distance close and let you lower the car as much as you like. Don't fall for the trap buying the bottom of the range BCs that don't have camber tops, or any coilovers without camber tops, because you need this adjustment or you simply won't be able to make your wheels fit right at all. Now I'm actually going to lower the fronts about 15 mil right now because I've just stepped down to a lower profile tyre. So I guess now is a good time to tell probably what most of you are wondering: my wheel and tyre sizes. Now in the fronts I've had 215 40s, 225 40s, 215 35s, and now I've finally settled with it's a Falken Zenus FK510. Seems to be a pretty good tyre from what I've heard. It's a 225 35 R18, so that is for the fronts, and the wheel in the front is a 18 by 9.5 plus 12. So if you're wondering what the stretch is like, that is a 225 35 18 on a 9.5 wide wheel. I think it is just the perfect amount with no stupid stretch. With the 215 35s you could fit a finger in between the inner lip and the tyre, and I actually had the 215 35 come off DB'd on me while I was going around the corner pushing the car a bit hard. I like to be able to still drive my car hard even though it's super low. So yeah, I've settled the 225 35. I think that is perfect for the front. Just to show you why you don't go 40 profile in the front, they're simply too big. I've heard some people having issues with just the diameter too big, so it's like touching their side skirts. I didn't have that issue, but trying to be a low boy, I ruined this guard. I seriously don't think it can be repaired. It's just an annoying thing, so I'm gonna have to replace this guard because the tires were just too big. 18s with big tires in the front of an S chassis just don't really seem to work well. You can run a 17-inch in the front and an 18 in the rear. It's a very common thing with S chassis. I did try it. I'll throw a photo in right here. But personally, I just prefer the look of 18s all round. It kind of annoyed me a little bit, just seeing the size difference. But yeah, that's just a personal preference thing. And while we're still on the topic of fronts, you'll see I have the 9.5 plus 12. I have had the plus 22s in the front, and I'll tell you right now, they're 99% gonna hit your front coilovers. I'm not sure what it is with the S15 front fitment, and I'm not sure if it's like that with other S chassis, but a 9.5 plus 22 will hit your coilover. In a previous video I did do that. when I first got the T's and I had to run spacers. So this particular wheel, the Plus 12, is hard to find, but if you can get them, definitely buy them. Now, as for the rear, I'm also running 326 power coilovers, but as you can see, I've got a helper spring in there. Now, a helper spring does just give you a lot of extra travel and help you, especially with slammed cars, like going over driveways. Instead of three-wheeling, the rear wheel can kind of come down more and help you out. But if you have a look there, you can see my rear wheel is contacting it, even though like my rear wheel, the lip literally pokes out a bit more than the guard. Just because I'm low and the size of the wheel and just these small S15 guards, it does touch. So I'm going to be removing this helper spring now, and just obviously putting that up there to secure the spring. And so that means the wheel will be sitting, it sits about here because that spring compresses when the car goes on the ground, but it means there'll be so much more space and the wheel will never contact the strut again, which will also allow me to lower it just that little bit more, which I'm planning on doing now. As for the rear wheels, these are 18 by 9.5 plus 22. So fronts are plus 12, these are plus 22. I think having a plus 12 in the rear, you need way too much camber, you can't put power down, and it just looks a bit stupid. If you have the bit lower offset in the front, so more aggressive wheel in the front, bit less aggressive in the rear, it will allow you to have a little bit more camber in the front, but pretty much even, and you'll be able to put some power down. As for tires, these are a Michelin Pilot Sport 5, by far the best street tire you can ever get. It grips up like crazy, even though it's not really a big tire. A 225/40/18, so 40 profile, you might as well run it in the rear. It'll allow you to essentially look lower, like you can get the lip closer to the guard without having the actual body height of the car lower, like if you had a 35 profile tire. And you might as well benefit from having the bigger profile, having more grip and being able to get better tires like the Michelin. So that's why I went Vulcan in the front, because you unfortunately can't get these really good Pilot Sports in a 35 profile in the right size. Alrighty, so the helpers are out. As you can see, the wheel is barely drooping anymore. Used to be able to fit like 2/5 in that wheel gap because the helper spring used to give it that extra travel, pushing it down. But there we go, just the one spring, no helper. And so the wheel should sit, the top of the lip should sit about there now. So it's going to have about 15 to 20 mil extra clearance. So if you are buying coilovers, make sure you don't get helpers. Unfortunately, if you want to run like a 9.5 wheel in the rear. I don't think I mentioned before, but in the front, no aftermarket arms or anything. I did replace the tie rods just to replace them because they were worn out, but yeah, no lower control arms, no nothing. I'd only do that if you're drifting, you find you don't have enough steering lock. Like if you're not doing that, you might as well just keep it simple and run standard. In the rear, all you need is camber arms and your toe arms. You can get a traction rod as well, but I don't think it really does much. It's always best to keep it simple, so coilovers and rear camber and toe arms, and you should be good. You may face issues with your camber arm. You might need to notch your chassis there. As you can see, that's dented up. I actually just lowered the car and let the camber arm do it itself. It just hits for a couple of weeks and then it doesn't ever hit again. But yeah, that's just something to be aware of. And by the way guys, you do not at all need super stiff spring rates to be low. I'm only running 12 kilo in the front and just 7 in the rear. So it's actually like honestly pretty soft for an S15, just a normal S15. But yeah, this thing is absolutely slammed, and just having the soft springs makes it right amazing. As long as you make your fitment so that your wheel isn't going to come in contact with your guards, which is how suspension travel should be anyway. Might as well run it soft and be comfortable. So about an hour and a half later, the car is back on the ground, and I'm gonna try and take it to a nice spot and get some videos and show you guys how it turned out.